A tragic end to the weekend as violence ramps up overnight. In the last 24 hours, there's been a total of 6 shootings in New Orleans. 3 of them were deadly. Plus, wedding nightmare, a groom accused of shooting 2 people while stuck in traffic on the spillway. We'll get to that wild story in just a moment. But first, let's talk all about a mass shooting that happened overnight in the French Quarter. That is where we find Harrison Golden. He is live with the very latest information. Harrison, what can you tell us?
Aubrey, that shooting that left people running for cover here on Bourbon Street last night, just between 2 and 3 a.m. What is but the largest in the number of shootings that had taken place last night here. Police say it left 5 people hurt near the corner of Bourbon and Orleans. The NOPD says they have taken somebody into custody, and what connection that person has to the shooting remains unclear at this point. Also unclear is what led the shooter to fire those shots. We caught up with people this afternoon who say the violence won't stop them from trekking around the French Quarter, but it is making them a little more cautious.
I was in Mardi Gras 2015. Wonderful city. I mean, beautiful city. I mean, beautiful area, that French Quarter area. The people of New Orleans are beautiful people. Very warm, very kind. You know, Southern hospitality, definitely. When I was in the French Quarter, you saw a lot of things. You saw a lot of homeless, able-bodied glacier gliders. I'm talking about muscle-toned, tall, able-bodied, running up on people, demanding change. Like they're beggars. They're very aggressive beggars. And you just feel like, wow. Like, it's a lot of homeless white people down there in the French Quarter. And you see a lot of drunk, tourists and whatnot. Girls passed out, like, on the street, like, drunk out of their minds. Got all the floats coming down the street, the Mardi Gras stuff and all that stuff. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scene, that Mardi Gras scene. I just would have been shocked I'd have been floored if somebody that came through there shooting. And we know how violent New Orleans is. One time we walked a little too far, maybe 2 blocks too far outside of the French Quarter, and it was like, whoa, you could feel it. Like, okay, this is the ghetto. But I'm just speaking about that French Quarter area. It's just odd, man. It's very odd that something like this is. It's definitely 2020, 2021 crime wave. It's just a festive scene. Like somebody you don't even care. Everybody's happy. People are happy. Nobody's like tripping like that. It's not that type of vibe. You know what I mean? You know how they say in New York, you know the vibes? The vibes is good down there.
The NOPD says they have taken somebody into custody, and what connection that person has to the shooting remains unclear at this point. Also unclear is what led the shooter to fire those shots. We caught up with people this afternoon who say the violence won't stop them from trekking around the French Quarter, but it is making them a little more cautious.
You can't get preoccupied with that kind of stuff. You can be careful, but you can't really obsess over all these things that can happen, any day.
You gotta always be aware where you go. Like I tell all my friends, the real world, man. This world is real.
So a surveillance camera did manage to capture moment by moment what had happened in that shooting here along Bourbon Street. Now, coming up a little bit later after the Olympics tonight, we're going to take you moment by moment with each of those shots and tell you how exactly that unfolded. But for now, reporting live in the French Quarter, Harrison Golden, WBC News.
So that wasn't the only shooting in New Orleans. There was also another quadruple shooting, or as we like to call them, mass shootings. Boy, That whole heightened awareness on mass shootings after that white guy shot up that workplace back at the beginning of the year. They sure dropped that like a ton of bricks. No more talk about mass shootings anymore. But this is 2 in 1 city. So we're talking about Chicago last week. We had 2 within 5 minutes of each other in one neighborhood. Now we have 2 in 1 city over the weekend. And of course, there's plenty of other cities where there were 2 mass shootings this weekend. But let's focus on New Orleans in this video, because the mom did something that we rarely see. Mom turns in 15-year-old son wanted in deadly quadruple shooting, New Orleans cops say. A 15-year-old wanted in connection with a deadly quadruple shooting over the weekend is behind bars after his mother turned him into police in Louisiana, authorities say. New Orleans Police Chief Sean Ferguson, another brother police chief in this racist country, this racist criminal justice system, where all the son criminals get out the next day and all the chiefs are black. God, think about that. Criminals get out the next day no matter what they've done. The person who bops you upside the head or steals your car is going to be out on multiple felony bonds and have a lengthy criminal record besides those felony bonds that he's currently out on bond on. He's going to have a track record going back to the 90s, or if he's a teen, he's going to have a track record going back to his early teens. All the police chiefs are black, but all I keep hearing about is how racist the criminal justice system is. Wow, man. It just, like pro-black say, something sounds fishy, man. You know, every time they don't want to take accountability or responsibility for something, man, something sounds fishy, man. But something sounds fishy about that, man. So Sean Ferguson, our chief of color down there in New Orleans, announced an arrest Monday in a shooting that killed another 15-year-old and injured 3 others, including 2 16-year-olds. The incident unfolded early Sunday, just hours after 5 people were shot on Bourbon Street, making another weekend of senseless violence in the Big Easy, Ferguson said at a news conference. Police said the 2 shootings are unrelated. Well, really, are they unrelated? Because I keep hearing about officers who responded to the Capitol riots are committing suicide. And it's not because they work in one of the most violent cities in the country 365 days a year. It was because of the one day they worked the riot on the 6th at the Capitol. It's not because they respond to murders every day and shootings all throughout D.C. every day. That's not why they committed suicide. Those officers committed suicide because, the one day at the riot where, the geriatric white rioters pushing and shoving. So, if that's related, if every time a cop in D.C. commits suicide, it has something to do with the Capitol riots, could it be safe to say that all these murders happening and all these mass shootings happening in these cities are related if they're coming from the same community, the same single mother raised, and I'm not blaming the mother, it's just that's what we call it, single mother raised kids. Maybe the father, every case is different. Maybe the father got locked up in this case. Maybe the father dipped out in this case. It wasn't in the boy's life. I don't know. Maybe the mother chose her a good man and he kicked the can. Who knows? But this mother did a good thing. She brought her boy in for that murder. So the chief says the two shootings are unrelated. Overall crime was down last week compared to the previous week. The police chief told reporters Monday, adding that the violent weekend put a black eye on the city's progress. We had a very disturbing weekend. Very disturbing, very alarming. Ferguson commended the teen's mother for coming forward and ensuring the victim's families got closure. I spoke to the mother of this 15-year-old suspect, and understandably so, she is very shaken up. She's upset. She was very emotional. She had to make a difficult but courageous and the right decision. Police haven't identified the motive in Sunday's quadruple shooting, but Ferguson said there had been a friendship between the 15-year-old suspect and the 15-year-old victim. Neither have been identified, and it's unclear what charges the accused shooter is facing. We continue to be committed, and we will be committed to the safety of the city of New Orleans, Ferguson said. I want to look at the bright side. This sister turned her little progeny in knowing that he did this crime. How many more mothers in these areas do you think are harboring their little teenage terrorists and refusing to turn them in, but still letting them, run around and shoot people and just turning a blind eye to it? I'ma say a lot. Now, some of those mothers are scared of these boys. A 15-year-old hothead, shooting out in the ghetto. The grown men in the neighborhood are scared of these boys. I'm going to tell you that straight up. In these neighborhoods, the grown men are scared of these boys. Now you got the older dudes that hang out on the corner and whatnot, and the older dudes that still living their second childhood, or the dudes that just came home from jail and ain't got nothing to do all day, just hanging out. Or the guys just above them, the guys in their late 20s that, still trying to hold on to their little, street dreams. Those guys are terrified of these little 15-year-old boys. These little 15-year-old boys know that they're not going to do no time, man. You got to understand, man. Criminal justice system is, and if you subscribe to this channel, I don't have to go into it because we've already done it in so many videos. If you're new, make sure you subscribe to all the channels, hit the like button, hit the PayPal, hit the Cash App, hit the Super Chat, hit everything. However, these young people, 15, they face zero consequences, none. Even if they go to juvie for 6 months, that's like a stripe. That actually is beneficial because you've been down. I went to juvie, you know what I'm saying? I was locked up. Because most times they're out within hours. They carjack you, drag you down the street with your own car. You survive, they're out in a few hours. You die, 15 will be home by the time they're 18. You don't get dragged, you just give up the car. They'll be out in a few hours and they'll never hear about the case again. They only had to go to court for it. That's America. That's your racist America. So we need moms to help us out. The people who are producing these little terrorists, we need y'all to help us out. And salute to this mom for, helping out. Because there's no way the cops arrest these guys. It's not the cops. The cops arrest these kids. This guy's 15. He's not. I would say he probably have a dozen arrests. I wouldn't be surprised. Hit one if you'd be shocked if he had a dozen arrests already at 15. It's very common, upwards of 40 and 50 arrests by the time they're 18. You don't know this white liberal because you have no idea what you're talking about. You just get on Twitter and run your mouth. Pro-blacks know this, but they just be on Twitter lying. That's the difference. White liberals just don't know what they talking about. But pro-blacks be on there lying. Like, they got little nephews and little sons, and they know this. They know, man. 40, 50 arrests by the time they're 18, the little ones out in the street, is very common. But we need the moms, man. Step up and start helping out, man. Because y'all creating these little terrorists. And salute to this mom. So we're going to look at it like that in this video. Peace.